Can things get more serious for Blake Lively? Because new actual footage in a damning Reddit post is going utterly viral and raising some serious eyebrows. And no, this isn't just another red carpet mishap. This is evidence that could shatter her victim narrative for good.
It certainly doesn't support her narrative that he was this evil, brutal, bully, sexual harasser, and poor little meek, powerless Blake just had to deal with his aggressive advances. That's just so obviously a lie.
If you clicked on this video, then you're probably already following the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni circus, and you already know about the ongoing legal battle between the two. Okay, so the lawsuits have been filed, the accusations have been slung, and the public war is raging. But now, let's get to the really damaging stuff, the newest evidence that's shifting the narrative completely. Blake Lively obviously made this a very public legal fight the moment she decided to post that damning article about Justin Baldoni in the New York Times, and since then, every little secret text message from both sides have been exposed for all the world to see.
It kind of passed. It was over. But like a lot of thin-skinned Hollywood types, she couldn't stand the fact that it was still lingering in any way out there.
But it's what all the world hasn't yet seen that might just be the final blow to Blake Lively. It's what happened behind the scenes when Blake thought no one was watching, but sadly for Blake, someone was. We're talking about leaked footage showing a very different dynamic between Lively and Justin Baldoni than the one she's portraying in court, and here it is. That's May 17, 2023, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni on the set of It Ends With Us. Notice the body language. A full embrace, smiles, and what appears to be easy, comfortable conversation. This isn't a formal greeting, it's a hug, a display of affection, or at the very least, a definite lack of animosity. Now, contrast that with the reported 30 demands allegedly made by Blake Lively's team during the filming of It Ends With Us. Demands that, according to reports, focus heavily on establishing strict intimacy boundaries on set. She surely doesn't seem like a damsel in distress who is trapped in an uncomfortable work environment.
This intimacy coordinator says, quote, "From reading their text messages, I do sense that at one point there was genuine affection between them and what felt like a friendship. In my experience, when an actor says, I don't need to meet the intimacy coordinator until we're shooting, as much as it hinders my process, it does typically indicate that they trust their scene partner."
And Justin Baldoni's lawyers? Well, the defense, if this footage is presented in court, will likely argue this video undermines Lively's credibility. They'll point to the hug, the smiles, the apparent comfort, and ask, does this look like a victim of SH? Does this look like a hostile work environment? Absolutely not. We don't have Blake Lively's explanation for this hug. We don't know what she'll say in court, but this footage circulating online is already shaping public perception. It's raising serious questions, creating doubt, and potentially dismantling the victim narrative Blake Lively has presented. And sadly for Blake, there's more. Remember all the drama over that infamous rooftop scene while filming It Ends With Us? Well, for those in the dark, it's the scene that Ryan Reynolds basically rewrote, much to the shock of producers and the rest of the cast and crew, who apparently was never asked or consulted.
Ryan, actually, your husband Ryan Reynolds wrote part of that rooftop scene.
No,
is that true?
Yeah, that's, I mean, I would have to compare it to the original one, but that's 90-something, 99% his. Yeah, he
The iconic rooftop scene in this movie, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but you know.
It's that same infamous scene that Justin later alleged he was bullied into accepting the changes by none other, of course, than by Blake's two ferocious dragons, who we now know to be Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift.
Details about meetings like the one they had with Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and apparently, though the name is blacked out, there's an assumption, well-founded, that it's Taylor Swift, her BFF, at the Reynolds penthouse in Manhattan, where Ryan Reynolds allegedly bullied Justin so badly that a Sony representative who was there, the production team behind the movie, and her biggest takeaway was, I am very sorry that I let him get away with doing that to Justin. It was so nasty.
But more importantly, it's also one of the scenes in which Blake allegedly complained that Justin made her feel uncomfortable. Well, can we have a drum roll, please? Because here's even more never seen before behind the scenes footage of that same rooftop scene. And you tell me, does Blake look threatened or uncomfortable? Here it is.
This video that's been leaked that is on Reddit showed that Blake Lively was laughing and having a good time, and no one could really see that there's anything off here.
The evidence against Blake just seems to be stacking up. These videos may leave anyone gobsmacked, but wait till you see this next one. Blake Lively's own words captured in a Reddit post. And it's a self-inflicted wound she may never recover from.
This isn't a film about domestic violence. It's a film that covers a lot of things, from first love to being an entrepreneur and opening your first shop and having all your dreams come true, to falling in love, to finding a new best friend, to domestic violence, which you don't hear all of those things in one place.
You heard that right. That's Blake Lively right out saying, this is not a film about domestic violence. That's Blake Lively, the star and executive producer of It Ends With Us, stating unequivocally that the movie is not about the issue many believed it was portraying. Let's break this down. For months leading up to the film's release, the marketing, the interviews, Blake Lively's own social media, it all pointed to a story about a woman escaping an abusive relationship. Fans connected with the book's portrayal of DV, and they expected the movie to do the same. But then she doesn't just say it's not just about DV, she says it's not about DV at all. And then she adds this: she isn't defined by anything a man did to her.
It's a film about a woman because she's not defined by anything any man did to her.
That statement, to many, fundamentally misunderstands the nature of DV. And the main question here is, how can she hug someone who she is accusing of all this and now say this is not a film about DV? It rather seems like she is on a mission to clean her image.
So she's a serial fraudster. That's called fraud. When you pretend you want to do the one thing and you'll do the thing they're hiring you for, but all along you have secret plans to do something very, very different that's above your pay grade.
So we have a clear contradiction. Blake Lively seemingly downplays or outright denies the domestic violence theme of a movie that was widely understood to be about that very issue. And this contradiction, captured in her own words, is now fueling the firestorm online. It's not just a bad PR move, it's a betrayal of the fans and potentially a devastating blow to her credibility in this ongoing legal battle. These new clips, however, aren't the first damning evidence of its nature to surface against Blake. Previously similar and equally damaging footage had found its way into the spotlight to dismantle many of Blake's claims. For instance, during one particular slow dance scene, Blake claims that Justin broke character and made her feel incredibly uncomfortable, rubbing against her neck and smelling her.
She writes, on another occasion, Mr. Baldoni and Ms. Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. Instead, he spoke to Ms. Lively out of character as himself. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck.
However, little did Blake know that there was an unedited version of the scene, clearly showing her to be the one in control and her to be the one who directed Justin and told him what to do.
Ryan, go to the bar. Ryan, go to the bar.
And then there was also this next little golden nugget, once again caught behind the scenes, probably when she thought no one was watching. But here's Blake once again directing Justin and telling him how to pull her in with more fervor and passion, and how to kiss her. The clip may be short, but her body language says it all. One thing all these clips have in common is this: Blake does not look like a victim.
It's just disgusting when you go after someone, you try to destroy their life, and actually the evidence shows something different. Blake Lively was no victim here. She was in control, she was in power, and she took over this film.
And that's not a good look for her public image, which brings us to the next point. The evidence is in the Reddit post, the hug, the contradictions. And now the public is reacting. And unlike the carefully controlled world of Hollywood PR, the internet doesn't hold back. These aren't just isolated comments, they're a wave of disillusionment, a chorus of outrage. Fans who once admired Blake Lively are now questioning everything: her motives, her character, her entire public persona. Some try to defend her, claiming she's being unfairly targeted, that it's all a misunderstanding. But the overwhelming sentiment online is one of betrayal. People feel misled and manipulated, and they're making their voices heard. This is a movie about me, and about how cool I look with this horrendous and super expensive clothes, because my character can afford 600 key in clothes just like me. From a story of survival to a showcase of self-importance. Blake Lively, the architect of her own destruction, brought down not by her enemies but by her own words and actions. A career implosion live and in color. The risk is evident, the risk of losing it all. This backlash isn't just about a movie anymore, it's about trust, authenticity, and the consequences of trying to control a narrative that's spiraling out of control.
And she finally bumped into someone who was weak enough and not famous enough to stop her.
And while Blake Lively's own words and actions are now fueling her downfall, the question remains, what will it take for Baldoni to truly recover? The damage, both professional and personal, may be long-lasting. Was this a calculated series of manipulations, a pattern of behavior finally brought to light? Or is there something else, something deeper at play? Those questions may never be fully answered, but one thing is clear: the tide has turned. The carefully crafted image is shattered. And as Blake Lively faces the consequences, perhaps Justin Baldoni can finally begin to reclaim his narrative, his career, and his reputation. Let me know in the comments, what's your take on Blake Lively after the Reddit post and the hug video? Is she a liar? Do you think this is the beginning of her downfall?